Ask Reddit. What's the most embarrassing thing a parent has done to you? My mother insisted on seeing exactly what I bought for clothes to make sure they weren't too baggy until I went away to college. When I was 17 we were buying jeans at the Gap. And when I wouldn't basically do a fashion show for her for every pair of pants I tried on, she crawled her 58-year-old self under the door of the dressing room where I was trying them on. I'm a guy, and the dressing room had a line out the door. Everybody saw. Everybody heard. Calling all the neighborhood moms one day when my younger brother noticed I was growing pubic hair at 12 years old. My mother made it a point of conversation to let all 10 moms know I was becoming a man, and the calls went on for about 1 hour and a half because apparently puberty is that stimulating a conversation for the neighborhood. Ended up with a lot of such a little man comments from the neighborhood, and a couple of dads pulling me aside and letting me know that number one needed to know, as if I had something to do with it. Ugh. My mum pulled up my skirt, causing me to involuntarily flash a room full of people at a Christmas dinner. I was absolutely mortified. She wanted to check for self-harm scars on my thighs. Apparently, I've never self-harmed before. She should not be allowed to consume alcohol. I went to school at an outpatient mental facility as a kid. It was Halloween, so the instructors let us paint our faces and do arts and crafts all day. I knew my mom didn't like Halloween for religious reasons, so I just gave myself a cat nose with whiskers and made sure not to write Happy Halloween on anything I made. When my mom came to pick me up, she screamed at me about how I knew better, made me go to the bathroom to wash my face, as well as made me throw away all the stuff I made in front of everyone. Your mom is the reason you were in that facility. When I was really young, maybe 5 or so, my dad got into a conversation with the cashier at the movie rental place. I had to pee, but every time I tried to get his attention he brushed me off. I ended up peeing myself and he didn't notice until we got in the car and it smelled like pee. At least he was apologetic when he asked why I didn't tell him, and I explained what happened. Tell everybody at Thanksgiving dinner at her boyfriend's house about my tween bout with anorexia. I didn't want to be there in the first place, and she just kept going on and on about how I had carrots for dinner for 1 year until I had to shout at her to stop. I came home from school with head lice. Instead of telling the teacher, who would send a letter home to everyone without specifically naming which child they noticed had lice, my mother rang every person in my class that she had the phone number of. She would have a chat with the parent, or yeah, she has head lice, so you need to check your kid. I probably got it from someone in my class, and the whole class likely already had lice, but kids don't realize that, so the whole class were calling my dirty and saying I infected them. It was horrible. I was hysterically crying while she called people. My mum's done plenty of embarrassing things, however the thing that jumps out the most would be what happened to my sister. She had been dating this guy for 1 year or 2 on and off now, normally not important, but for the story it is. He's black and my family is English, so we're like paper white. This was all back when my sister and I were in high school. It was Christmas. He and some family friends were invited over and everything was going great until it was time for gifts. My mum thinks she's hilarious. She gave my sister, who was a virgin, still a card pack of positions to try. Also remember, there were family friends there. She was already mortified by that. Worse was yet to come. He opens his gift and it has something else in it, and a box of glow-in-the-dark condoms. Mum, it's so she can find you in the dark. Everyone laughs nervously. Daffok. My mom and I used to try and embarrass each other. It was fun. One day we were at Safeway and I was in the toilet paper aisle and there was a very hot guy in there as well. She held up a mega pack of toilet paper and yelled, "Hey sweetheart, this will be perfect on your sensitive bum. How's your diarrhea right now?" I thought I would die. In like 5th grade, there was this girl I was friends with and we would always joke around and make fun of each other. So one day my mom was picking me up from school, and me and the girl were walking out together and she said, "See you tomorrow, Dumbo." I had big ears as a kid. Thankfully I grew into them. My mom heard her say that and wasn't having any of it. She stormed over and started yelling at her, saying things like, "Don't ever talk to my kid like that again. How would you like it if kids made fun of the freckles on your face?" She started bawling. I was so fucking embarrassed my mom was yelling at this innocent little girl in front of dozens of kids. We left and I didn't talk to my mom at all on our way home. Thanks mom. I love you. But that was mean. I have aggressive Crohn's that started showing up around 8th grade. My mom took me to all of my doctor appointments, which were all pretty embarrassing. Because no teenage boy wants their mom involved in their butt-related illness. One particular visit, we were about halfway through the appointment when she whipped out a Cool Whip tub. Turns out, the following night I used the bathroom and it didn't all go down. So she thought it would be helpful to load that up in our poor people Tupperware and haul it on into the doctor so he could look it over. He had a confused "what am I supposed to do with poop in a Cool Whip tub" face for a good 10 seconds, then politely dismissed it. Who'd have thought that there isn't any medical knowledge to be gained from fishing poop out of the toilet, refrigerating it overnight, and schlepping it up for an office visit. She googles my boss's phone number, called him in his office, asked him to put me on the phone. In his office I was in a meeting with a client. I didn't answer her call on my cell phone. In the middle of a work day, she wanted to bitch about my stepfather and wanted to talk now. No emergency or anything. She just wanted to talk and gave zero shit about the consequence of her actions, as per fucking usual. And that's the day my boss and pretty much the entire company lost respect for me, when the mom of their co-workers called him on his boss's office to talk about personal shit. A few months later, I resigned. There was nowhere to go in that place anymore. My dad told a guy I had a crush on that I liked him. I was 16 or 17 at the time. Still mortified when I think about it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like if you want more. Talking Meme.